fuck?
Hello, this is CB Ultra 768, and welcome back to another Reviewing Reviewers, where I look at people's reviews on movies, TV shows, and video games to see if they are actually good at their job. Today, I will be covering the Nostalgia Critics or Doug Walker's video on the film Dragonheart. I will also be looking at his first viewing video on the film, which I will sprinkle in while I cover his review to give some context on how he and his brother Rob Walker watched the film. For me, Dragonheart was a film I really enjoyed as a kid, and after rewatching it with my dad for this video, overall, I still really enjoyed the film. It's not a perfect film, but it is one I like to look back on, and was surprised when I learned this film got 4 sequels, which I still find weird. For me, the first film was a one and done. I feel it shouldn't have continued, especially after what I saw when I watched Dragonheart: A New Beginning a long time ago.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
While researching for this video as well, I learned a couple of things I didn't even know about the making of this film, which I will bring up as I go. But anyway, let's jump into his review and see what he has to say about the film. Before that though, we have to look at his beginning skit for the video. I honestly wish he could just start the review like he used to do years ago instead of doing skits. But since this is how he does his reviews now, I need to cover what he will be setting up to justify his points about the film. So, let's tear this off like a band-aid and get it over with.
It's 1996. Fantasy films are garbage, but CGI is hot right now, and we want to exploit it. So we bring you Dragonheart.
Why are you showing films that didn't even come out in 1996? A Kid in King Arthur's Court came out in 1995, and Warriors of Virtue came out in 1997. I know he is trying to drive the point of, oh, look at these terrible fantasy movies I've reviewed, but that doesn't work. Why didn't you do a Google search for fantasy films for 1996 and choose some that might match your point, like The Lord Protector or To the Ends of Time, which I haven't seen and I know nothing about these films, so I don't know if they are good or not. But he could have at least checked them out to see if they fit for the joke he is trying to go for. He could have used Aladdin and the King of Thieves, which came out that year and does fit his fantasy category. From what I saw of his Disney Sember on it, he was mixed on that film, but I imagine if Doug did put that film in his video labeled as terrible, he would probably receive a lot of backlash for it. Woo! Gamera 2 Attack of Legion came out that year. I like that movie. I love when Gamera slides across the ground and starts shooting at Legion. I thought it looked really cool. That film was just some nice classic tokusatsu fun right there. Sorry about trailing off there. But to get back to the video, the joke about them exploiting CGI just makes me want to ask, what the fuck were they supposed to use to bring Draco to life? Did you want them to somehow build a practical dragon, like a robot or puppet, and have it still do all the crazy shit that Draco does in the film? You make it sound like they should have made it in the same way the film Dragon Slayer was made, with stop motion and go motion. I imagine it would have taken them longer to finish making the film if they did that. I never saw this film's CGI as a way to exploit it. I thought they used it very well for the film. If you want to talk about CGI that is being exploited, just look at Daredevil Born Again. When we first see Matt suit up and grapple to a fire escape, we're met with this. Just look at how bad that looks. When I saw this, I said to myself, why not just get a stunt person to do the action? It just makes no sense to me that they had to use CGI just for a shot like that. And they keep doing it throughout the whole show. There are movies and TV shows that use CGI really well and with a purpose, and I say Dragonheart is one of those films. Which is why I find this whole joke about exploiting the CGI in this film to be utter horseshit. Now, if you said that about the sequel, I would believe you. And that film came out 4 years later after the first film. Oh, fuck. I'm only 10 seconds into this video and haven't even gotten to the main review yet.
Hang on, this is gonna be bad.
Starring Dennis Quaid as the Brave Knight, and Jeff Goldblum as the Dragon.
I don't want to kill you. I never did. If I wait around for the next sword swinger, thirsting to cut out a reputation out of my hide, wow, what a run-on sentence. What am I reading for again? A dragon? Oh, no, wow, this is awful. I know what awful is. I was in powder, telling someone was doing while they were writing this.
Oh boy, here we go with the impressions. Making up what-if scenarios just to try and make the film seem worse than what it is. Also, run-on sentence? You didn't even read the whole scene. You skipped a bunch of the things Draco says to Bowman.
I don't want to kill you. I never did. And I don't want you to kill me. How do we gain? If you win, you lose a trade. If I win, I wait around for the next sword slinger thirsting to carve a reputation out of my hide. Well, I'm tired of lurking in holes and skulking in darkness.
I thought that was fine. Am I crazy or something? I didn't feel there was a run-on sentence. There seemed to be multiple sentences just for Draco to get his point across to Bowman. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It doesn't help when you cut context out to try and prove a point that is not valid.
With Holly Hunter as the Dragon.
When you squeeze the nobility, it's the peasants that feel the pinch. Is that Shatner's toupee? What was that?
Shut up!
Gladly, this script is dog shit.
Well, the way they did the scene was they had a microlight aircraft for reference footage to use when they animate Draco flying in scenes. Now, if you look at his wings in this shot, it would be at the exact spot where we see what they call Shatner's toupee flap near Bowman's head, which they saw as something that wasn't supposed to be in the shot, which is wrong, because the object was Draco's wing flapping in the scene as he landed, to keep the continuity of where he was in the scene, which you could tell just by looking at the motion of how it moves. Man, this video is falling apart fast. Also, I love how they say the script is dog shit, even though Doug says this about the film.
I don't remember this being awful. I don't remember it being good. I remember it being dull.
This script is dog shit.
Why would you say you didn't think it was that bad, but call the film dog shit in your video? But when I show more from his first viewing, you'll see they don't really hold that opinion too highly.
With Samuel L. Jackson as the Dragon. So it was f***ing you who killed the motherfucking starred one. How much motherfucking gold did her motherfucking carcass put in your motherfucking purse, motherfucker? What? There's no swearing in this. Oh, no, I'm out of here.
That joke doesn't even work since Samuel L. Jackson has been in films where he doesn't swear, like Frozone from The Incredibles and Mace Windu from the Star Wars prequels. Why would he be upset that he can't swear in a film? Also, the starred one? Draco says the scarred one, not the starred one. Here, look.
So it was you who killed the scarred one.
So it was f***ing you who killed the motherfucking starred one.
Scarred one.
Starred one.
Does anyone know if he watches films with subtitles when he does a review? That would have helped so he didn't make that mistake.
With Sean Connery as the Dragon.
His blade defends the helpless. His might upholds the weak.
That's the funniest one of all. Oh, that isn't part of a comedy sketch? Wow. What the f***, 1996?
They make fun of this even though in my research they always wanted Sean Connery for the part of Draco. The only other actors who were considered for the role was Whoopi Goldberg and Robin Williams, if they couldn't get Connery. It was even stated that Draco's design was based around Connery even before he was casted for the role, and I thought he did a great job in this movie. For some reason, they just think he was a weird casting for this film, which I don't understand. He has such a unique voice that helps this character stand out, and I like that he can play a scene both serious and comedic really well, which helps give this character a lot of personality. To be honest, I feel it's very disrespectful to shit on his performance when he did a really good job in this film. R.I.P. Sean Connery. I hope these fuckers didn't make you roll in your grave. Well, that is the end of the skit. Overall, a waste of time with not only bad jokes, but ones that contradict what they were trying to make fun of in the first place. Thanks for wasting 1 minute and 27 seconds before starting your review. It really added so much to your video. Anyway, let's finally get to the review.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. Every half a decade or so, a new trend seems to take over Hollywood. From westerns to sci-fi to disaster films to superhero films, it's usually a genre that for a period of time seems to dominate the market. And for a while, that genre was fantasy. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Narnia, these franchises were big money for a good period of time. While these genres did exist long before they got insanely popular, it's not hard to see why they weren't always insanely popular. True, there was a strong film here and there, but before fantasy films were Oscar winners, they were Dragonheart.
Well, isn't it natural that if a film from a certain franchise is praised and is financially successful, that others will sprout from it? I know he is trying to make the point that fantasy films back then were not as popular, apparently, but from what I researched, it says they were popular in the 80s. Yes, I know he meant they didn't branch out into franchises, but that still doesn't mean fantasy films were not popular back then. It's funny, these are the examples he shows for a few good fantasy films, even though you think one of them to show would be Conan the Barbarian, or more fantasy films of that type, since those more match the sword and sorcery elements that are more closely related to Dragonheart, and would be used years later in the films he mentioned. Then he makes fun of it by saying before fantasy films were Oscar winners, they were Dragonheart, even though Dragonheart was nominated at the Oscars for its special effects and only lost to Independence Day. Which makes me wonder, if Dragonheart did win at the Oscars, how different would this review be, or would he even have done it at all? Because with this statement, it's clear he just thinks this was a rushed, shitty movie and didn't even look at the making of the film to see what work went into the visual effects, to see where the film was in pre-production back in January of 1994, and was supposed to end filming in November of 1994, but finished a year later. One of the elements that slowed its release was the post-production, and here's a list of things that slowed them down. Please feel free to pause the video if you need time to read. Making fun of the film this way is just an insult for all the hard work these people did to try and make this film work. I swear, Doug, if you do a review on the sequel Dragonheart: A New Beginning, you better apologize for shitting on the effects in this film.
You look at it! 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 I want all of you to look at it!
Anyway, continue, Doug.
Released in 1996, this sounds like an idea so goofy it must have been satire. A period piece about a knight befriending a dragon voiced by Sean Connery. It sounded dead on arrival, and yeah, it pretty much was, but it's by no means a disaster. It's just not very good.
It's funny how he reintroduced the film, even though he had an entire skit dedicated to doing that. It just goes to push my point further. Why even have a skit if you're just going to reintroduce the film again? Why not just start right away instead of wasting the viewer's time with jokes that were crap and didn't even make sense? Now, on his point about the film's story, ignoring the fact Sean Connery is voicing a dragon, what about the story made it sound so bad to you? I want to give an example of a film that is a bit similar but completely different, and that is How to Train Your Dragon, which he even did a video on saying he had a few problems with the film but overall really liked it, and that story has a human befriending a dragon. Like I said though, both films have very different approaches but still have the similarity of a human and dragon growing their bond together throughout the film. As he stated, the only thing he thinks makes the film ridiculous is the voice of Draco. I just don't understand why. I thought Sean Connery did a really great job in the role, but I guess we'll see as we go on. But to finish this, he says the film was not a disaster, just not very good. Okay, let's look at Doug and Rob's attitude towards the film when they watched it.
How do you think the effects are going to hold up on the dragon? I don't think they're going to hold up that great. I don't know if they're going to be awful.
I
don't
know
think
it
they're gonna
was.
hold up
I
that great.
want to say it was the Jurassic Park people that ILM were involved.
But they were already kind of like, well, we already won people over with Jurassic Park, so
don't-
we can go a little quicker on this one.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in forever, so I don't remember how the effects looked.
I just remember he looked cool, but it didn't look like he was really there. That was like a big thing. It just never looked like he was really there. Since we are watching this at your place, I will let you do the honors of pressing play this time.
Well, the dog is like laying on the floor, and she's just like, I'm already bored. I mean, decent shot. I'll give it that.
Yeah, actually,
one long shot.
I'm kind of looking it over like, yeah, actually, that was pretty well handled.
Should I write the Canterbury Tales or some shit potboiler about a Dragonheart?
Pretty fake. Ooh, that's rough. We're in Dinosaur now, that old Disney movie.
Yeah. This other movie has now invaded this little comedic caper. Like, it's so weird.
It has layers. It's layers of shit upon each other.
Peeling the layers like an onion. A very rotting onion.
Do you want to see the bird?
Do you want to see the awful movie?
Yeah, it just hit me. We're near the end, aren't we? And I just
guess.
feel like nothing's happened. Just made the sky a lot more lame. Yeah, it's not like the worst or anything. Like, I feel like I've seen not only much worse, but much more forgettable. Like, I do kind of remember the dragon. I remember one or two things about it. But, like, yeah, it's one of the few films where by the time we got to the end, I'm like, already? We're here?
I don't know, Ellie. What do you think? She's licking her snatch.
Okay, so...
I think that sums it up.
Yeah.
Pretty nicely.
No science critic in this room.
So, overall, they thought the film was dull, boring, and was just a rushed film overall. I would like to ask, what did you think of this film if you've seen it? Because for me, I never was bored when watching, and I actually like that it is only an hour and 43 minutes. Apparently, it was originally going to be over 2 hours, but was cut down, and what we got from it I thought was fine for what it was. I have problems with the film as well, but I'll go over them as we get to them.
In production hell for several years, this movie was passed from creative team to creative team in the hopes of salvaging it, and yeah, it definitely shows.
I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is all he ever says about it. He never goes into detail about what that production hell was, which I've already gone over the post-production problems they had. But for the story about it being passed from creator to creator, originally John Badham, who was a partner of Rob Cohen, was supposed to direct the film, but turned it down because, as stated by Cohen, he didn't respond to the material. So after, Patrick Reed Johnson was approached to direct the film. He was the one who wrote the script in where Draco and Bowman went around scamming people, which was his original vision for the film. But then, later into production, there was another script made by Charles Edward Polgay. Sorry if I said that wrong. Which was the whole Einen plotline in the film, as well as Bowman's journey to regain his code of honor. Then, Rob Cohen was brought in to direct it, replacing Patrick, but they still used elements of his story mixed with Charles's. So, that is a major factor about the production hell, was they took two scripts and combined them to make this film, as seen in the credits saying they both worked on the story. This would have been great stuff to include in his review to help support his point, and to make the video more than just him getting his daily clicks and views. It would have given it substance.
For such an ambitious idea, it turned out a tonally confused mess that did okay at the box office, but left critics and audiences feeling underwhelmed.
Can you show me evidence of this instead of just saying that is how people felt when they saw it? From IMDb, it got a 6.4 out of 10, which I would assume is at least an average rating, saying that it's not great, but it is not terrible as well. But no, the way he says it is almost like a fact with nothing to back up this claim.
Almost 30 years later, though, does it get better with time? Or look at those effects. Of course it gets worse over time! But let's dive in and nitpick why. Let's check out the original Dragon movie with bizarre casting. This is Dragonheart.
Yeah, some of the effects aren't great, but overall, I feel they still hold up for what they were trying to do, and I still don't get behind his argument about Sean Connery being a weird casting for Draco. And these examples he is showing, I haven't seen those two, so I can't judge, But yeah, Eddie Murphy was an interesting choice for Mushu, but I thought he played the part well since that character was comic relief, but could still play the character serious when he needed to, which I enjoyed about the film. As for Rachel Weisz in Aragon, I don't have much of an opinion. I watched a clip as I'm writing this, and I thought she sounded fine. And I mean, the dragon in that film doesn't actually talk, it communicates through telepathy with her rider, which I don't know what makes that weird about that film. But anyway, let's see what he's got for us and if it will be worth anything.
So I wasn't kidding when I said this is technically a period piece. The film takes place in 984 AD, which in historical terms stands for dragons.
Did we really need the date?
Oh, when dragons were around, yeah.
Oh, 984.
When rewatching this, I will admit I did question that as well, but if you really think about it, the film starts in 984 AD, but then we transition to 12 years later, making it 996 AD. And if you listen to what is said in the trailer,
1,000 years ago.
he says it took place 1,000 years ago. Because remember, the film was released in 1996, so what they were trying to do was match it up with the date when this film came out. So, it's like you are witnessing a story from a very long time ago. Since this video has been uploaded on May 31st, 2025, this film's story is now over 1,029 years old. After I realized this, I really liked that element of the story, where it's trying to connect with our history by saying this is a legend that was told from a bygone era.
I should point out too that while the music by Randy Edelman is totally fine, it's been ruined for me because for years, every phenomenally corny piece of shit used it for its advertising.
Better right in.
Universal Pictures presents.
You are not cut out to be a physician.
Comes a story of the power of friendship.
Sangha isn't a killer, nor is Kamal.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
If a lot of people love each other, the world would be a better place to live.
Well, and some just go too well.
I mean, that just goes to show how great the song was. Do you not understand what a trend is? I mean, you show the film Two Brothers, and the fact they used that song for that film that came out in 2004, I find really impressive of how much staying power that song had, especially since Dragonheart was the first time anyone would have heard this song before it became so popular. Also, adding the song to the room only just makes that film even better for me, so thanks for that, actually.
As the credits roll, we're introduced to young Prince Ayman and Bowen, played by 20 different accents shaped like Dennis Quaid.
There's nothing noble about crushing desperate men.
All my hopes rest on him.
It has expenses.
You and I should be the only things that are cold and hard around here.
I will spend the rest of my life hunting you down!
Did he eat the cast of Snatch? What voice is he doing?
No one ever found victory in the dirt.
Is he supposed to have an accent in this?
I serve the Father only for the sake of the Son.
What accent is he supposed to have? Is it British? Mid-Atlantic? I don't know. Bringlish. Americish.
No matter where you go, I will find you!
You tell him I'm coming, and an indeterminable accent is coming with me. You hear? Or not? It's coming with me!
I don't need a name! And I have a collection of my own!
Sounds like Devil Boner.
I gotta take it out on my own!
So she must be, like, Viking related. She's got red hair.
They put as much thought into that as Quaid did with his accent.
I mean, as long as I can understand him, I thought his voice was fine. Some of the scenes you are showing, he is in different emotional states. So why wouldn't his voice sound different? Wouldn't it be boring if a character just sounded the same throughout an entire film? Or, in the case of Gal Gadot, hilarious?
Max Lord, you're putting yourself and everyone else in grave danger. I need you to give me the stone. What happened to it?
We have a piano tuned, a chef stolen from Shepherds of Cairo, and enough champagne to fill the Nile. Kalel, no.
Hell, What's funny is I asked my dad about Dennis Quaid's performance in this film, and he just said he sounded like Dennis Quaid. He didn't think Quaid was putting on any accent. For me, I thought he did good for what was given to him. He played the part of a knight who went from not having any hope to trying to regain his honor well, I thought.
It looks like the peasants are rebelling, and the two of them are called to witness the king's victory. Okay, now I can see why the burning the village music in Conan was so epic. Without it, it's pretty dull.
Well, I took that scene as the calm before the storm because we see it is quiet as he starts to burn the village, but then he gets ambushed when it is revealed the villagers were waiting for him. Whenever a film or show does something like that, I feel it is building up the tension in the scene that something is wrong or not right. But I honestly don't have a problem with this scene not having music. My main issue with this scene is, why is he all alone? I know the point is he is arrogant and they wanted to show he underestimated the villagers, but I just find it silly that a couple of his men didn't think, hey, maybe we should stay with the king just in case something like this happens.
No! Yeah, admittedly, if you came out before he burned the town, you'd have, well, a town, but I guess it still works.
Hey, idiot. The whole point was they were making sure he was alone and in a position to where they could ambush him. If they attacked too soon, he might have gotten away. Hell, Einan even says,
he's trapped.
Like I said before, why is the king alone? His guards should be there to protect him. I'm surprised he is not bringing that up as a criticism of the film.
The king is slayed and his son rushes out to save his crown.
Die! It's mine!
Dude, it's not a controller for Dragon Ball Fighter, it's your friggin' dad!
Die! It's mine!
That's how government works, I have the crown, I'm the king now!
Okay, putting the shitty joke aside, that is the whole point of the scene, man. He cares more about the power that crown gives a person more than his own dad. It's supposed to show us Einan's character and how far he is willing to go for power.
But his actions catch up with him. Oh, just like a chick to stab me in the heart. At least my hair's prettier than yours.
I've got nothing for that other than just it was a lame joke and a missed opportunity to talk about the characters and that scene more. But no, moving on.
Bowen brings him to the Queen, played by Julie Christie, who has an idea about how to save him.
Knight is sworn to valor. His heart knows only virtue.
Kid, you're the prince. You're the next in line. You don't need to hold on to that. What do you think if you grab it and say, king, 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 that instantly makes anyone who holds it the ruler?
I like how he makes this joke about Einan being next in line, even though he was going to die if they didn't go and see Draco to save him. I don't know. I took that scene more as in his dying breath, he is not willing to let go of that power. Especially if you think about the scene itself and what we learn later about Einan and the words Bowman is telling him. That he didn't care about any of that and only used Bowman to become a better fighter. The only thing he cares about in this scene is the power of being king. So of course he will hang on to that crown. Almost like his life depends on it, if you think about it in that sense of what is driving him to stay alive.
Aisling, daughter of the Celts.
He's taken to a dragon who agrees to help the prince if he promises to rule justly. Well, I see anyone who literally grips their crown for dear life is totally doing that.
Well, it's not like they expected him to actually lie since he was fucking dying. You think after going through a near-death experience, it would have changed Einan and how he acts. But that is the whole point. His character is so corrupt that he even lied while he was dying just to survive, so he didn't lose the power of becoming king.
Witness the wonders of an ancient glory.
He takes half of his heart out of the PlayStation 2 version of himself and gives it to the prince.
I serve the Father only for the sake of the Son.
No, really, what's your real voice? You should talk. That's fail.
Man, really trying to drive in those jabs to shit on this film's CGI, even though we get stuff like this in an age where technology is way more advanced than what it was back in 1996. Also, thanks again for another dumb joke instead of actually listening to the scene and giving your thoughts on it, where Bowman offers his services to Draco for saving Einan's life, which is a setup for this scene at the end of the film.
Once you swore your sword and service were mine, to call when I had need of you, to ask what I would of you, I hold you to your vow, knight.
Final thing before moving on, I really like how Draco looks in the shadows. I thought they did a good job of showing and hiding his features at the same time before his full reveal. Now, on to more suffering.
But big twist, he's still a douche.
There should be a release, not a punishment. Look good, dog. I'm the last thing you'll ever see.
Well, if you recite half the hilarious lines from Holy Grail, I don't see it as that bad. I'm sure somehow the dragon's to blame for this.
I love that boy and you changed him! You tricked me, dragon! No matter where you go, I will find you!
Anyone else getting that old bike meme vibe?
You tricked me, dragon!
I don't understand the joke there. Why are you comparing Einon to the prince from Monty Python's The Holy Grail? One is a vicious little shit who enjoys the power he has over the villagers, while the other was a prince who was being forced to marry someone he didn't love and didn't even want to be king. The only thing they would have had in common was they were both princes. But Einon isn't even a prince at this point. He is now king. So overall, just another shitty joke. Speaking of the other joke, he mentions the bike meme, trying to say instead of Bowman blaming himself, he is taking it out on the dragon, which isn't that the point of the scene? That Bowman is in denial about Einon. He wants to believe his teachings did do something for Einon to make him a better man, but unfortunately that was never true. And he doesn't want to accept that Einon really is just pure evil. So he blames the dragon, which makes him sink even deeper into his denial. It's not until he faces Einon at the waterfall that he fully sees what Einon really is. Even then, he still doesn't want to help because he feels he has lost all hope until he hears the old code from King Arthur instilling him to regain his honor and fight for the people against Einon. I just wish Doug would analyze the scene more instead of just making a joke to basically say he thinks Bowman is being stupid.
I will spend the rest of my life hunting you down!
Wow, that was an epic transition. I think more movies need to build up their anti-climaxes that way. Solid payoff.
And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Getting warmer.
That's how you movie.
Well, how did you want them to transition then? How about you tell us instead of just making fun of it? If I were to do a different transition for the scene, after Bowman says his line, we see fire rise up to cover the screen and then die down to reveal the fields and play the scene as it was. But I mean, it wasn't like they transitioned to another epic scene or anything like that, so what is truly wrong with a crossfade transition? I mean, usually that is the kind of transition you would use if you want to show the passing of time. And they decided to do that to let the audience know that, okay, some time has passed, and then they show you just how much time has gone by since Bowman made that vow. I honestly haven't seen Tombstone, but I looked at the scene where in the film, after Kurt Russell says that line, it cuts to the sun rising and you see them riding up. And overall, yeah, looks cool, but these are two different films, and the transition in Dragonheart, as I said, was a way to show the passing of time. Which is why I ask, what is wrong with it if it is appropriate for the scene? It just feels like he is really trying to bring this film down by even shitting on a transition, which I wouldn't even consider was bad.
Years later, we're introduced to Gilbert, played by the usually talented Pete Postlethwaite, but I think was replaced with Pinky as the annoying bard.
Well done, Boyan! You've done it again! What a brute!
Odds Bodkin's Bane! You're a regular wizard!
Yo! I've decided to compose the Ballad of Bowen!
I, Minstrel Mouse Pinky, shall chronicle your deeds in song!
Into the mouth of death he strode, into the pit of fear unknown!
All dark and inky, to conquer the world, go brain and la something.
He's so annoying, I swear Jar Jar took him aside and said, "One more time, but with more offal."
What did I say? What did I say? My humble life is in debt to your exalted prowess, your dauntless courage, and your superb swift sword.
It's a sequel to Dumb and Dumber, annoying and annoyingier.
Really? I didn't think he was annoying at all. I thought he was good comic relief in this. And I like how he says the actor is usually good, even though isn't he still giving a great performance since a year later after playing Brother Gilbert in this film, he then went on to play Roland Tembo in The Lost World, who I really liked in that movie. Doesn't that just show how great of an actor he is if he can go from being a quirky, adventurous priest who wants to write stories to a badass hunter who had to take down a T-Rex with only 2 tranquilizer darts, since Vince Vaughn was an asshole for taking his bullets away? Honestly, Pete Postlethwaite did a really great job in this film for the part he was given. And to make that joke about Jar Jar teaching him how to be annoying is just dumb. Because unlike Jar Jar, Gilbert actually has a purpose in the film and is a good supporting character for this story.
Bowman continues to hunt down every dragon he sees, but he overlooks the true injustices across the land. For the prince has grown up into Remus Lupin, and continues to fill his kingdom with Harry Potter cast members.
Cora, I told you not to come here anymore.
Dear Wigmaker, I have come for a better wig.
Well, I know I'm blind, but what the hell was that? This is Kara, played by Dina Meyer, still upset that Prince Puckerlips is tormenting her father.
For God's sake, release him.
Okay, that I recognize, an arrow, ow.
Man, he gives such a bare description of what is even happening, where he doesn't even mention Bowman has been hunting dragons for money now, showing just how far he has fallen from his old code. He even skipped one of my favorite scenes involving Jason Isaac.
A road tax, King Arnold. A road tax.
I just love the way he delivers that line. And it's a nice scene to show the characteristic of his character being a money-hungry scumbag, that he is hoping Einon will tax the roads just to make even more money off the people. The wig joke he makes, I actually researched it, and yeah, it says she had to wear one for reshoots. Which, if he was smart, he could have made a Samurai Cop reference, since the same thing happened in that film as well. Though to tell you the truth, I never noticed. I usually don't see that kind of stuff sometimes. So good point on noting the wig, but he could have taken the joke a bit further. Now, finally, for the joke about her father being blind, and Doug saying,
well, I know I'm blind, but what the hell was that?
I just don't get it. Yeah, he doesn't say that out loud, but obviously we see he has that kind of reaction to the cup being knocked out of his hand. I just don't see where the joke was there. But then Doug makes the joke that now the father recognizes what it was after getting hit by the arrow. Even though you skipped the bit where Einon takes a couple of shots at Kara as she approaches, and I imagine he would have already known what was being fired just by the sound. So I feel your joke just doesn't work. It is also funny he doesn't even talk that much about Kara's father, who led the rebellion at the beginning of the film, and was saved by Bowman when he was captured in that one scene. And the fact we see him now with his eyes destroyed, most likely from being caught by Einon again, and forced to be a slave, causing the villagers to not rise up against him, since he was the one that started the resistance. But to be fair, he probably didn't even know any of that when watching.
Meanwhile, we're given the one clever effect in the movie.
Hacking and whacking at dragons, but if a dragon falls in the forest and nobody gets to hear about it, does it make a thud?
And I guess the budget could only afford it once because the dragon never does it again.
Yeah, I will admit, it is funny he has a camouflage ability, but never uses it again. But my question would be, can he only look like rocks, or can he also blend into other environments? Also, from what we can see, his camouflage is not like Randall's from Monsters, Inc., to where he can perfectly blend into the background and move while in that state. Because as soon as Draco starts to move, he loses the ability to stay hidden. But again, he just wants to take another crack at the film and say its visual effects are shit, just by saying that that was the only clever effect in the entire film.
And we finally see the dragon, named Draco, in all his... Flintstone-y glory.
Really? I think Draco looks way better than some of the CG in that movie, if that is what he is comparing the effects to. Though the strength of the Flintstones was they only used CGI for certain scenes, while Dragonheart had to have Draco on screen for longer periods of time. It's funny he mentions the Flintstones since that film came out on May 23rd, 1994, which as stated, Dragonheart was supposed to be released in November of that time, which I see as they didn't want to rush their work, and the result we got for Dragonheart, I say, was really good in terms of its visual effects.
Visit the woods! Oh, that must have hurt. We're earning our money now, aren't we? How do you like the ride so far?
You're the man now, dog! Okay, this looks less like he's holding on for dear life and more like he's ziplining. I'm looking for a sign that says you must be this tall to ride the Iron Draco.
I'm assuming that was a reference to something, the whole "you're the man now" dog. I don't know what that was. If anyone knows, please let me know what he is referring to. As for the scene itself, I mean, he is getting smacked into trees, which I love, by the way, just how hard the impact goes. Yeah. Does that not really sell the danger that Bowman is in? I'm fine with how it is, but if I had to improve it a little, I would say if there was a way to make him go faster while holding on, then yeah, that might have helped to sell the danger even more, but I'm impressed that they actually were able to set up the scene and do it in a practical way. It was a nice time when CGI was actually used in a proper way instead of for shit that a normal person could do with the support of wires.
Haven't had this sort of challenge in some time. Nor likely to again.
Don't make me smack you like all the lady dragons in my life.
Get it? I make reference. You laugh now. Also, it really is true about him pausing after every joke. Look at this scene again and see if you can spot the pause.
Don't make me smack you like all the lady dragons in my life.
I never used to notice that, but now I can't unsee it whenever I look at one of his reviews.
I will not stop until I've rid the world of every last one of you. I am the last one!
I did it! I'm the Highlander!
God, he is just skipping their whole conversation just to make more of these jokes. He even cut out this part.
You're just trying to save your scaly hide with tricks.
I don't know about you, but I thought that was fucking cool. Can you please focus more on the actual film instead of just referencing other ones? And maybe give some of your thoughts about what you think about Draco and Bowman as characters. But nope, he just wastes that opportunity for a joke that went in one ear and came out the other even faster.
Draco tries gobbling him up, but Bowen's sword stops him from closing his mouth.
Can you get your buttocks off my tongue?
I'll take things I never thought I would hear Sean Connery say for 200, Alex. In fact, that sounds like a mispronunciation Connery would have on Celebrity Jeopardy.
It seems you're in a bit of a stalemate. Get out of my mouth and let's talk face to face.
Okay, if there's a Dan Schneider of Dragon films, he directed this.
Just more jokes and references. Can you please actually talk about what is happening in the scene instead of wasting time with your little non-comedy bits? I mean, I like that scene when he pulls the arm out of Draco's teeth and he recognizes who it was. I thought that was funny. Then they talk about how long each could last before they go to sleep, and then start to talk about having a truce with each other. I thought it was a really fun exchange between the characters. See? It's not that hard to talk about the scene, and that is my main issue with this review. He only goes over any of the scenes on a base level describing what is happening in the story, and when it comes to certain scenes, he just keeps making jokes and doesn't really talk about them. I'm fine with jokes in reviews, it's just, can you also add some of your thoughts here as well, instead of just making jokes all the time?
I wait around for the next sword slinger thirsting to carve a reputation out of my hide.
So, you may have noticed, the dragon isn't that impressive. If you're wondering how on earth this got an Oscar nomination for Best Effects, well, film quality wasn't as clear as it was now, so you could get away with a bit more. Also, it truly was ambitious. At the time, CG characters that needed to emote with personalities was just starting to become a thing. So doing so with Jurassic Park-style technology did have promise. But aside from maybe a few dark shots, it never looks like he's there. He looks like a Trojan horse made with the CG monkeys from Jumanji.
Finally, something other than a joke, but it's still shit. Okay, the footage he shows is what presumably it would look like on what seems to be a rundown tape, which, two things I have to ask. 1. Did you actually have a copy of Dragonheart on VHS and actually show what it looks like from an older tape, or are you just using someone else's footage? 2. Didn't this film come out in theaters? So the quality of the film should not match what you are trying to show in your video. It would have looked like how we are seeing it now. Though I could be wrong. Who knows how the theater's screen quality looked back then? If anyone knows, please let me know. I'm interested to learn about a theater screen back in 1996. I couldn't tell you myself because I was a baby during that time. I first saw this film on a VHS a long time ago, and after rewatching it on the collector's edition on DVD, I feel it pretty much looks how I remember it. Because I feel when I watched it on VHS, the quality didn't look like what he was showing. Yes, I will admit the effects are dated, but that doesn't mean they are terrible. The complaint he makes about Draco, as he puts it, does not feel real in the scene. I get it, but I feel they did accomplish bringing a fully CGI character to life, and did a good job with how the character moves and interacts in this world. It feels like he is comparing this to what we get nowadays instead of thinking about the hard work that went into trying to make this character and the new technology at the time they were using. I would highly recommend you check out the making of video for Dragonheart. It goes over some of the great technical aspects they used in the film. If you have a copy of the DVD, it is in the bonus features, or if not, you can find the video on YouTube by typing making of Dragonheart. Which I feel completely confident in saying. I think Doug and the people he works with didn't even bother to look at that video before making this review and just went into it with ill intentions.
I don't want to kill you. I never did.
Also, while Connery does have an impressively deep voice, they don't add any bass or treble or reverb to make it sound like it's coming out of a giant creature.
I'm gonna let you up now. We can pursue this fracas to its final stupidity.
All I can hear is the actor in the recording booth, like,
Yeah, I got like 3 more of these stinkers and then I'm calling it quits.
his feet don't even make any noise.
I remember. That's all it is, a memory. So I no longer try to change the world, Dragon. I just try to get by in it.
It's so weird. Like, remember when a T-Rex could literally shake the ground just walking? This thing is the dragon version of that quiet guy from Seinfeld. It just doesn't feel right.
I can agree with some of that, like Draco not having any sound while he walks, and yeah, his voice could have even been slowed down, because if you are going to have a creature of great size, then the way they should talk is very slow, like the rock biter from Neverending Story.
They look like good, strong hands, don't they?
I researched why they may have not wanted to add those types of sounds, and here's what I found. It seems they didn't want to distract from Draco's presence in the film, but I don't mind that they don't give him a bass to his voice, because I like listening to how it is, which gives Draco this very soft-spoken personality, compared to something like Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug in the Hobbit movies.
There you are, thief in the shadows. It is the gold. They are drawn to treasure like flies to dead flesh. I am fire. I am death.
When I was watching these scenes, I heard his voice, but it was almost not recognizable with the effects they did on it. Which, I'm not saying it's bad. It works for this kind of dragon being something the people of that land are terrified of. But Draco isn't that kind of dragon, which is why, other than they could have added sound effects for when he is walking, it doesn't take away from how I felt about the character throughout the film.
You can listen to my alternative.
What's the alternative?
They call it Truce and hatch a scheme where they play reluctant dragon, pretending to terrorize villages with Bowen saving the day and getting the reward. And granted, as fake as the dragon is, the fire does look pretty damn impressive.
We've analyzed their attack pattern, and there is a danger. They have a frickin' dragon.
That was actually pretty brutal. Again, if there's fire involved, this movie's actually pretty awesome.
Again, another fucking jab against the visual effects. It just feels so rude to shit on it without knowing the work that went into trying to make this film. Also, this was common back then that if you wanted to sell what was happening in a scene, a mix of CG and practical effects is the way to go. Some films today still do that, but a lot of the time they will just rely on CGI nowadays, which I'm fine with as long as what you are trying to do is something that is not humanly possible to do or is safer to do if there is a high chance of people getting hurt if they tried to film it for real and require CG to help sell the effect. Some examples I can think of are the Quicksilver sequences from X-Men Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, the Lord of the Rings films, which showing a massive army, creating all those giant creatures like the Balrog, and just Gollum himself. And my last example is in the film Shin Ultraman when he flies around during the battle with Alien Zarb. How else could you do a sequence like that without CGI? Those are scenes I don't have a problem with CGI being used for, since they used it very well compared to something like this.
Surprised to see me?
Sorry to get off track, but yeah, the fire in this film is cool, but he should also be appreciating how well they match Draco's movements with the timing of the fire going off, because for me, they sold the shots of a dragon shooting fire.
I do long for death, but fear it.
Aside from your misery, what's to lose?
My soul.
Oh, and get this. He doesn't put together this is the same dragon who gave his heart to the prince.
Einan was no innocent. He polluted the heart.
How do you know that?
All dragons know that story.
Okay, I'm not gonna pretend I understand the complicated layers of dragon racism in this world, but Sean Connery has, let's just call it, the most recognizable voice on the planet. Maybe Donald Duck beats him out, and even then, that's a maybe. This is like not recognizing Arnold Schwarzenegger as Turbo Man. How on earth is this humanly possible?
I hated one of you, but I never found him. I never will. If you're the last, he must be dead.
Wait, what?
How can he not?
What? He doesn't know that's the one that gave the heart? Oh my god, are you kidding me? That's like the most distinct voice in the world.
So this is really about the world's dumbest knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your argument is on a meta level, saying he should recognize him just because he sounds like Sean Connery. Also, you have to think about when they first met each other. As you showed, Draco was in shadows, so Bowman never actually saw what he looked like fully. You also skipped over the fact they only met that one time, and 12 years have passed after that moment, to where we see Bowman is now hunting dragons for money, just trying to get by in his life, that he has ruined by pursuing this vow of revenge. I get he has a very distinct voice, but these are just some factors you have to accept in the film for why he doesn't know Draco is the dragon he is looking for, which can go for Jingle All the Way as well. You argue, how do they not recognize Arnold Schwarzenegger as Turbo Man? Well, in that film, he is not Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is a dad trying to get a Turbo Man doll for his son, and that is just what the film wants you to believe, that his family doesn't recognize him in that suit, which for me I love because it just makes it all the more silly. But if you think I'm wrong, please let me know, but that is how I saw it in the film, and it didn't bother me since later we get a line from Bowman suggesting he had a feeling about Draco being that dragon. But let's continue.
We discover, though, that when the prince's heart is damaged, Draco's heart is too. Well, gee, I wonder how this is gonna end.
No, it's not when their hearts are damaged. The idea is their hearts are connected to each other, so they feel each other's pain. I mean, in the scene you are showing, he clearly was stabbed in the shoulder, and as you showed, Bowman covers Draco's shoulder in the same spot. You should have rewrote that because that is just wrong. Also, what is it with the sly remark about, oh gee, I wonder how this film will end? He makes it sound like we already know that Einan can't die unless Draco does. Because, as Draco explains in the film, he has the life side of the heart. So, if you kill him, then Einan will die. But he didn't even bring any of that up, which is why he should have included all of that if he was going to make that joke about how the film will end. What he just said didn't convey any of the things I just explained.
And teach me. Pity me.
I'm the only one that feels like he's turning into a mix between the Momo Challenge and an ostrich from Fantasia.
Don't be afraid. I'll come to help you.
The prince captures Kara, but his mother helps her escape, so she tries to start an uprising to little avail.
Yes, you are the only one who sees him that way. Please, can we actually get your thoughts on this character instead of just making fun of the actor's face? Also, thanks for skipping so much of this film. He doesn't even explain why she is captured, because in his video, the last time we saw her, he just killed her dad. If you didn't see the film and watched this video, it makes it look like after that scene, he just took her to his castle. Even though what happened was Einan left, and we see Kara witness her father die, and take his headband and wrap it around her hand in an angry way. Then, the next time we see her, Einan is having dinner, where he spots her above him, and she tries to kill him, which is when she was captured. Why did you cut all that context out to help explain why Kara was even in a position to try and stab him? Because he even skipped over the scene where Einan is looking at the blade and ponders to himself and realizes who she is as the girl who accidentally stabbed him in the heart, to where he takes a liking to her. He releases her, and she tries to kill him, resulting in him getting hurt, which in turn hurts Draco, and he explains that he wants her to be his queen. And then Einan's mom comes in later to save her, which is a setup to how the heroes get into the castle at the end of the film. All this shit happens, and he just casually cut it all out of the review and summed it up in such a basic way.
I speak the truth.
It's rarely inspiring, lass. And it never wins rebellions. But it will stretch necks.
Is he a Scottish Irish pirate? What accent is he doing?
I mean, you have the internet at your disposal. If you really want to know, do some research on the subject and see what you find instead of just constantly making fun of his voice, and focus more on actually talking about the film instead of making jokes all the time.
Once again, they scam the town as Bowen looks for compensation for trying to defeat the dragon.
Of course, there are other ways. Perhaps you'll part with one of your precious daughters instead of gold.
Our hero, folks. Were you the one person rooting for the creeper in Waterworld? This guy's for you!
Dragons are partial to maiden sacrifices.
He convinces them the dragon needs a sacrifice, so naturally they send Kara.
Just get rid of her!
Oh!
Eat her!
Why am I supposed to like this guy? Is it because he doesn't snicker when the dragon says...
I merely chewed in self-defense, but I never swallowed.
Fun fact, that was an unused name for one of the Bond ladies.
Liar! Never mind, just get rid of her!
Oh!
Eat her!
I do like that Dennis Quaid has now moved him, like, Mr. Valiant, I have to, like, raise this kid, right? He's like, yeah, eat this random chick. She's a nuisance to the village.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like, we're supposed to cheer for this guy?
Okay, comparing Bowman to that guy from Waterworld is not even a fair comparison. Bowman is only doing that to try and rile up the village just so they'll accept his help with what they think is a random dragon attack and not a scam set up by the two. Compared to a guy who went crazy on the sea, who wanted to not just have his way with a mother, but the little girl as well.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yes, Bowman does tell Draco to eat Kara, but he needs to make sure the scheme goes well, and he suggests Draco should just eat her, assuming that is what he does. But then Draco tells him what Doug here is making fun of, that he only chewed and never ate anyone who attacked him. It's like my dad said, Bowman was at his wit's end and he just wanted Draco to do something to help with the scheme. He was most likely in a rush as well, because what if someone saw him talking to Draco? The whole thing would have been ruined. I mean, aren't there other characters in films that are similar to Bowman with what actions they take? If I had to think of an example, Star-Lord comes to mind, where he starts out as a Ravager and then after saving the galaxy, he and his team took up missions to protect people, but were still getting paid for doing a job. And if you remember in Guardians of the Galaxy, after the Power Stone blew up Catalina, Gamora tells Peter they have to take it to Xandar, and he says this.
Right, okay, I think you're right. Or we could give it to somebody who's not going to arrest us, who's really nice for a whole lot of money. I think it's a really good balance between both of your points of view.
You're despicable.
Still trying to salvage a chance to make money off this job even after what just happened. But of course, as the films went on, his character started to change and he became a person who is willing to risk his life to save people who need saving. Kind of what happens with Bowman later when he takes up the words again and wants to regain his code of honor and decides to help overthrow Einan's rule. Now, I ask, even though Peter was doing bad things, did you still like him, Doug? Because what I'm trying to get across here is, even if a character does what could be considered bad, doesn't make them a bad person. It only depends how bad the deed was, and I say for Bowman, it is not that bad, and I still like him as a character.
Draco ends up befriending Kara, even to the point of forgetting to return to the village.
I'm truly sorry, Bowen. Have been distracted.
We dragons have kind of a Jabba Leia thing.
That joke doesn't even work. Leia was enslaved by Jabba after trying to save Han, while Kara, after being taken by Draco, is actually enjoying his company and is most likely able to leave if she wants, but was happy to chat with him. Man, this pile of terrible jokes is really getting up there.
The prince appears, though, to try and take back Kara.
I'm ready for my lesson now, knights.
Boy, you know the movie's boring when the master and apprentice are reunited and having a big fight, and all I can think is, ooh, pretty rainbow.
I don't understand why he finds this scene boring. There is a lot that happens in this scene between the characters, but yet again, he cuts out huge chunks of the scene.
Well, it can't be. But it is. My old mentor, still giving carving lessons.
Get off your horse, I'll give you one.
Time's not being kind to you, Bowen. You should never have broke with me.
It was you who broke with me.
I'm ready for my lesson now, knights.
That's one lesson you never learned. Only expose your back to a corpse.
You are a corpse. You just don't know it. Lie down, Baron. You're the sorry scrap of dead worlds and dead beliefs.
No! They were your beliefs!
Never mind.
You said the words. You spoke them from your heart.
I vomited them up because I couldn't stomach them. Because I knew it was what you wanted to hear.
Lawyer! I taught you!
You taught me to fight, that's all. I took what I needed from you. You taught me to fight. You taught me well.
Just so he can make a joke to bring down the film like he has been doing for this entire video. It's just a very dishonest thing to do when reviewing a film.
Also, I don't mind using the same waterfalls before and the same shot of the tail going into the waterfalls before, but can you at least move the rocks that were clearly supposed to be the dragon from earlier?
Well, for one thing, why wouldn't they use the same waterfall? That is where Draco is currently living. As for the tail shot, it definitely looks the same, but I think they may have changed the lighting a bit on the one on the right to match up with that scene at least, to make it slightly different. But okay, let's now take a look at each of these rocks. The one here clearly looks more like Draco in design, while the other does not even closely resemble the one I showed before. I mean, I can see a dragon in this rock structure if I add an eye right here, but again, look at these pictures. These two rocks are completely different from each other if you just look at the designs.
Draco appears, though, and scares him off. Let's get out of here! I think he flashed me!
Doesn't even say anything about why Einan is freaking out, which is not just because of Draco appearing, but the fact, because they are so close to each other, they can feel each other's heartbeats, which I imagine would terrify anyone if they felt and heard their own heartbeat coming from something other than their own chest. But no, don't look at it in any other way than to make a flasher joke. Oh, teehee, haha, so funny.
Not surprisingly, Kara and Bowen seem to hit it off.
What are you looking at?
Myself.
God, I'm hot.
Well, yeah, I mean, after what happened, they start to share a connection after he protected her. And then they start to talk about her father, and she tries to remind him of what kind of knight he was to encourage him to stand against Einan. But again, he cuts out all of this context.
I once knew a knight. He stood all alone against an evil king and even saved a rebel leader from blinding. Men like you could lead others. You could give people courage and hope.
Hope? Even if you could raise your army, do you think they'd stand a chance against seasoned troops? Last time they tried, it was a massacre. I remember. I was there.
So was I. That rebel was my father. Let others stand with you. You'll see this time the end will be different. What are you looking at?
Myself. Once upon a time.
Like I said before, it is just such a disservice to the film.
They make it to the next village and...
The greatest dragon slayer that is! Possibly the greatest that ever will be!
It was nice living in a world where I forgot this guy existed.
I personally have seen him slay almost 2 dragons. I didn't actually see the death blow of the second, but he must have won.
He sounds like that person who fights all your battles on Twitter and you're like, you know, I think I'm happy you're losing the argument.
You can go fuck yourself.
He treats Gilbert like he's just useless throughout the film, which is just not true, since he has multiple purposes throughout. I mean, in this scene right now, he is helping Bowman by being someone who supports his claim of seeing him slay the dragon, since Kara is trying to ruin the scheme. Which makes your Twitter joke not make sense, since he is actually helping by being there. I will go over the other thing he does as I continue, but yeah, overall, Brother Gilbert is not a bad supporting character. There are way worse supporting characters out there that either don't serve an actual purpose, or if they do, it is just shit and done in a horrible way.
Transfers from Daredevil to Muse to me.
Not sure you can put Muse and Daredevil in the same category.
I'm not so sure that you can't. They're just these underdeveloped boys hiding behind masks, trying to make it look like something more sophisticated.
Muse tried to kill you, Daredevil saved you.
I saved me. They were both out there for themselves.
Shut up, you cunt!
The dragon doesn't sink this time, though, and the villagers try to eat him? Wow, they must have really been starving with absolutely no protein around.
Dude, what the fuck do you want them to do with the corpse? Just leave it in the river or move it into the forest to rot and spread diseases? I imagine you can get a lot of fucking resources from a dragon, like his claws, teeth, and even bones for stuff. And if they can eat dragon meat, why let it go to waste? You wouldn't just leave a valuable resource. You would, of course, see what you can do with it. This is just such a dumb point to make. Yeah, they have plenty of pigs and fish, but why wouldn't they want even more meat? Especially from a giant creature, since these villagers are super obsessed with meat. Doug really didn't think that one through.
When the dragon flies away, though, they look back to Bowen.
Meat.
It is English food. Cannibalism would be preferred.
I don't get it.
The dragon saves him, though, and takes him to Avalon.
This is Avalon, the resting place of King Arthur himself.
We buried him under Royal Dix, Knight of the Hard Table.
My dad pointed that out as well when we were watching, but he was funnier because he didn't have such a lame joke about it. He just said, "Hey Chris, do you see it?" And we had a nice little laugh. That was a nice moment. Definitely better than this video.
They decide to go after the prince, and tell me if I'm crazy, or is this the weirdest lead-in for exposition?
Will you wish us luck, Draco?
Long ago, when man was young and the dragon already old, the night became alive with those stars.
I just asked if you wish us luck. Where'd the astrology lesson come from?
Okay, first off, stop calling Einan a prince. He is the king now. Why didn't you change that when writing your script? Second, I will agree, I did find it funny she asked that, and then Draco just starts to do his confession. But that's the thing. Why are you making a joke about an astronomy lesson when he does start to talk? He is confessing to what he has done by explaining how it works for when a dragon dies. They become a part of a constellation in the sky. But not all dragons can go there when they die, unless they earn it. I mean, they even actually set up Draco's confession with this scene.
Valor,
echo in our enemies'
virtue,
as we set forth to strike
truth.
down the tyranny once.
Oh yes, truth.
Anyway, on to what he has to say about Bowman learning about Draco being the dragon he was looking for.
Bowen finally finally figures out that Draco was the dragon that saved the prince. And when I say figures out, I mean he literally tells him.
And that's why I shared my life force with a dying boy.
It was you. Your heart beats in Einan's breast.
No, like 20 dragons share their hearts with dying boys. Yes, it was me!
Well, if Draco explains it to Bowman, then what was with the whole he figures it out? Why not just say Draco confesses, leading Bowman to now see the truth that this was the dragon he was looking for these past years? You know, something like that. But on the subject of Bowman, I feel he would have suspected Draco, which is why when I hear him say,
It was you. Your heart beats in Einan's breast.
It sounds like deep down he knew Draco was that dragon, but just like with Einan, he probably wanted to deny it since he became close with Draco now. That is at least how I saw that scene, but I could be wrong. I'm happy to admit that. Please, let me know what you think.
Dreams die hard and you hold them in your hands long after they've turned to dust. I will not be that naive again.
I'll read a script more closely before I say yes.
Wow. Again, thanks for skipping over that scene, leaving out this context.
Even then, I knew his bloodthirsty nature, but I thought my heart could change him. My God, I was so naive.
No more than I. All my life I've dreamed of serving noble kings, noble ideals. Dreams die hard and you hold them in your hands long after they've turned to dust. I will not be that naive again.
He hasn't really even talked about what is actually wrong with this story. And when he does try to tear something apart, he's just wrong and is very unfaithful towards the film. I feel if you are going to do a review, you need to be as honest and fair as possible while talking about a film, instead of just only using it as a punching bag for your jokes.
But the ghost of Arthur appears, looking like a cheap effect from medieval times and sounding like a voiceover from Quest for Camelot.
A knight is sworn to valor. His word speaks only truth. His might upholds the weak.
I also understand Walter's celebrating a bachelor party. Everyone cheer for the red and yellow section.
His blade defends the helpless.
His blade defends the helpless.
And never forget, jet fuel cannot melt steel. I realize we're a bunch of crazies.
I thought the effect looked alright. What exactly makes it look bad? Please go into more detail instead of comparing it to something else. And if you are going to do a comparison, why not show an on-screen example to help drive your point across? Also, sorry Sir Arthur John Gielgud. Doug thought your voice acting was shit, even though I thought he had a voice that fit well with that scene. It's funny as well, he doesn't even explain why this is happening, because before all this, Bowman at first decides he doesn't want to be involved with gathering an army to fight Einan. As he sits there, he hears the voice of King Arthur to encourage him to retake his vow as a knight and fight for what he once believed in. Which, for me, I actually saw the scene as what his brother Rob makes as a joke here in the first viewing video.
Okay, I cop to it, that was me. I shut the whole thing up.
That Draco was the one speaking the vow to encourage Bowman. And you could say just from hearing those words, he didn't register that was Draco speaking and thought he was hearing King Arthur, because Bowman thought Draco left with Kara and Gilbert to raise the army, but came back for Bowman instead to help him. At least, that is how I saw the scene when I rewatched it.
They get the villagers organized and prepare them for battle.
Well, yeah, but only after Bowman shows up, because in the scene, Kara is trying to tell Hugh, who was actually with her father in the beginning of the film, when they were captured, and is the one we see Bowman talk to when he tried to scam their village. He doesn't want to listen to her, and even goes for a shovel to attack her, because at first, he doesn't think they stand a chance at winning. You make it sound like they didn't have any trouble getting the army, but they did, and only succeeded because they were convinced by Bowman and Draco.
Save your strength for the fight against Einan.
You and what army, knight?
Alright, let's go! Well, that killed the momentum. Does this movie actively want me not to get excited for things?
I mean, what the fuck did you want them to transition to? Just to the battle? They want to take the time to show them preparing for the war. It also doesn't help that you edited the scene, because the way you showed it, that is not how it happened in the film. After the shot of the village, We see some ladies making arrows for the war, and this is where we get the Brother Gilbert scene showing his skills with a bow.
Brother Gilbert, you're natural.
He is doing it again. He keeps cutting shit out. Stop it. Because I actually love that scene. Why would you not include that in your review? Though I'm not surprised, he already never even fully showed this scene.
Hello.
I don't see how he can't find that funny enough to include in his review. For the transition, I really want to know what would have made that more exciting instead of a crossfade. Something like this? Would that have been more exciting for you, Doug? Frickin' claims the film is actively trying not to be exciting, while he actively is trying to mislead anyone who watches this video.
Widen your stance. Up. Down.
I technically killed the prince the first time. Instead of teaching me how to fight, I should be teaching you how to fall.
Thank you, Doug, for another terrible joke, and for skipping over the pudding joke they set up in this scene.
This could cleave a man's skull.
Like a pudding.
Like a pudding.
Anyway, moving on.
I know this man who leads them, and I will not underestimate him!
The prince hears of the growing army, so he starts to grow one of his own.
A mother's gift to her son. Dragon slayers.
They look like the side of an arcade cabinet in the 80s. I've seen Disney Junior shows with more intimidating knights. What are you guys? Come on, the Galaxy Quest convention's down the street.
Hey, idiot. These are not knights. She literally in the clip you played said dragon slayers. So if you want to make fun of them, you should be comparing them to other dragon slayers in media. What even is so bad about their outfits? They match well with what they are supposed to be. I mean, look at the horns they have on their heads. Where the fuck do you think they got them from? They didn't just have those, I imagine. They probably have killed a few dragons, and they are wearing their trophies. I love that he doesn't even talk about the fact the mother made this choice to hire these guys, knowing that this will kill her son if Draco dies to stop his evil. He just completely ignored that just to make fun of only their outfits, but nobody else's. What do you think of all the other outfits people wear? That could have been something to talk about.
Why does he always look like he's about to lay an egg?
I don't know. Why is it that when you and your brother watched this, you just made fun of the actor's face and made noises whenever he was on screen constantly?
You remember The Big Lebowski? What is with this guy?
That's him?
Yeah. Over the... I can see it now. No, I mean, we were making that sound even before we knew that was him. Yeah.
Even a throne.
I just love this dude's face. I do like that he's going against...
He dares defy me at my own gates. Look at him!
He's very bird-like. I expect him to jump up on that parapet and just go... I'm talking about you.
Looks like he should have the voice of Miss Piggy. I have plans, Kermit!
Instead of actually talking about his character or anything else that would have been interesting, instead of doing that for the whole video.
That's what I call a spit and run. Yeah, even dragons have dad jokes.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Thou shalt not kill.
Congrats, you killed him. Are we trying to get across with that?
Are you retarded?
He is a priest, you dumb fucking moron. Priests don't just go around killing people. But in this instance, Gilbert has a chance to end the war right now by killing Einon. And he was willing to break his vow just to do that. I mean, for fuck's sake. This is what Doug and his brothers say about Gilbert in this scene that they showed in their first viewing.
What? I don't know. Why do you think we want to see more of that guy?
He is struggling to fight because he doesn't want to kill anyone. So later, when we see him, he uses traps and non-lethal shots to take down Einon's men, until it came to that moment with Einon. Fucking pay attention to the film and characters. How did you miss this important detail about Brother Gilbert's character?
Fucking idiot.
Actually, it hurts the dragon but doesn't kill the prince, as Drago just so happens to have given him the stronger half of his heart.
Nah, he got the upside, I got the downside. See, there's two sides to every sport.
No, they are equal. They both feel each other's pain, which we see when Einon gets hurt, Draco gets hurt. And we see it the other way around when Kara is taken hostage by Einon. Draco bites his hand to save her, which hurts him. Which, knowing that, I do have to ask, what did Einon look like when Draco had Bowman's sword stuck in his mouth? Was Einon in the same position since they feel each other's pain? That would have been funny to see Einon just stuck with his mouth open for hours. Back to the argument about the hearts. If I had to pick who had the stronger heart, it would be Draco, since this is how it works between the two of them.
As the heart binds Einon to me in life, it binds us in death. True. You've seen that it is. Through the heart we share each other's pains and power. But in my half beats the life source. For Einon to die, I must die.
I mean, sorry to go a bit dark here, but if Draco just killed himself, Einon would have died. Einon is only able to survive all of this because of Draco, not because he was given a stronger part of the heart. Last thing, I want to criticize the use of your Spaceballs joke. Why did you let it run on for so long? This is honestly how you should have edited it.
As Drago just so happens to have given him the stronger half of his heart.
Nah, he got the upside, I got the downside.
You need to work on your editing skills, Doug.
Draco is captured, but thank God the army of villagers have trained so hard they can get him back.
I go to save the dragon! Who will go with me?
I'm supposed to like people in this, right? Our usual trio tried to go in and save him, but they're caught pretty quick.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop fucking lying.
You should have taken that back, since this is what actually happens in the film.
We have to open the gates. The rest of us are waiting outside. Go save your dragon, Bowen.
Did you really just pull a fucking synthetic man by leaving that out?
And so the heroes have won, except there's one problem. Because Surtur didn't fuse with his waifu, Ragnarok is out of control, but the heroes managed to escape off-screen.
Time to go. Go where exactly?
They refused to elaborate and left.
How?
It's giant stuff. Okay, follow me, quickly.
Angerboda didn't even fucking do anything. Why did she exist again? Oh, right, diversity points. Right. Game's not woke, though. 10 out of 10.
Wow, just wow, Doug. You have been dishonest to a degree throughout this whole video, but this has to be one of the worst dishonest things you have done in this review. You would have seen the scene, and you decided to cut that out just to make your false statement true. It's just a very shameful thing to do.
Well, 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 what a pleasant surprise.
I only expected a threesome, but a foursome will do. They have a big fight as Bowen puts together the only way to kill the prince is to kill Draco.
You will never win until Einon's evil is destroyed, and to do that, you must destroy me.
Release me from this movie! I've other disappointments to star in!
Not surprising, he just skipped over a shit ton of stuff that happens. Like the fact we get the scene where Einan's mom tries to kill Draco at his request, but is stopped by Einan, and he kills his own mother for trying to do that. We get the scene where Kara gets grabbed by Jason Isaac to try and force her to help him escape, but is stabbed by Hugh, who she even thanks, which was a nice small character arc those two went through. Since at first they were against each other, and now they are working together. Next, we get Kara battling Brock, and she kills him, which we hear his last words are, because he was presented as a big, strong brute who saw himself in a very powerful light, and I like that those are his last words, just being in shock to think that out of anybody that could have killed him, it was a small village girl that beat him, which I liked for his character. And overall, just skipping over all these, I will say impressive stunts, which I guess were just shit for him.
Wonder where this is leading. Yeah, can you just get to it already?
What a prick.
Then he says Bowman figures it out, but still plays the clip of Draco saying, "You will never win until Einan's evil is destroyed, and to do that you must destroy me." Just to make a shitty joke, even though that is not true. I showed earlier Draco had to explain it to Bowman. He didn't figure it out. Why would you say this? It just doesn't make sense at all.
The prince is slayed as Bowen does end up killing Draco, releasing a refreshing pine scent, and he becomes an angelic fart, joining the constellations. Now, if he just died in an extra star shine, that would have been fine. Kinda like in Princess and the Frog, they just see the stars shine a little brighter and they know what it means, they put it together. Actually, it'd be kinda moving. But somehow this movie goes even more cartoony than the actual cartoon. All the stars in the constellation welcome him, explode into a million more stars, outline the dragon even more in case you missed this was in fact a dragon, and then go right back to normal. It doesn't even stay in the sky, it was just like, oh hey, we can do this, okay, bye. It is so cartoony and over the top, it looks less like a cinematic conclusion and more like you finished a Zelda sequel.
Well, it doesn't help you don't know and explain the context to why the fuck that is happening. Because as Draco explained, dragons when they die don't just go straight to their heaven. They need to earn it. That is why Draco says this.
Yes, Knight, I do long for death. But fear it.
Why? Aside from your misery, what's to lose?
My soul.
He was afraid that when he gave his heart to Einan, who was pure evil, that he would lose his soul and just vanish from this world. If I had to compare it to someone who did lose their soul and not get a chance to go to an afterlife, I would pick Brock from God of War Ragnarok, since when he died the first time, his brother brought him back to life and he didn't have his full soul intact. So, when Odin killed him, he was, as Mimir said, denied an afterlife. Which is what Draco was afraid of until he met Bowman and helped the people of the land gain their freedom. He was willing to put his life on the line, even if it meant not joining his brothers in the sky. But, as we see, the other dragons welcome him into the constellation, which Doug just refers to them as only stars. I honestly really enjoy the scene because everyone is sad that Draco is dead, but then when they see all that happen, they at least know his soul made it to the dragon heaven, and they can always look up to remember him. Also, great job manipulating the footage again by fast-forwarding the stars going back. And hell, look right here. They do have one star blink brighter than the others to show that one is Draco. Because Draco wasn't that whole constellation. All the other dragons are a part of it as well. He really loves leaving out certain things that would contradict his video. Also, your Legend of Zelda joke doesn't work since I scrolled a video called Evolution of Endings in Zelda Games by Beard Bear. And none of them had thanks for playing at the end of any of the games, so whoops.
And in the days following Draco's sacrifice...
Oh, I guess we have a narrator too. Last minute of the movie's a good time to finally bring him out.
Oh, come on!
How do you not know who is narrating, dumbass? It's Brother Gilbert, who throughout the film has been established as a man who left the monastery to venture into the world to write tales of heroism and adventure. Why the fuck do you think he hangs around Bowman in the film? As he even says in the narration, this was a story he has told throughout the years to inspire hope when people are in dire need of it. Why the fuck wouldn't he narrate the ending? It makes sense with how his character has been established. Pay the fuck attention.
And when things became the most difficult, Draco's star shone more brightly for all of us who knew where to look.
How's it shining now? Because this wasn't the easiest flick to get through.
Shut the fuck up, bitch!
So like I said, it's not awful, and honestly with this idea and casting in 1996, it should have been awful. But the ironic thing is, as much as Draco talks about how much he wants his soul to be saved, the film does surprisingly feel a little soulless. Not entirely. I mean, there are a few moments where the knight and dragon's bond is believable.
Really? You don't think the film is awful? Even though for most of this review you have been negative towards the film. Yeah, I find that hard to believe, especially you say the film is soulless, but clearly try to put that line about it not entirely being soulless, just to try and save your ass from criticism. He talked about liking the bond between Draco and Bowman, but didn't talk or show certain scenes with them to support if that is how he actually felt during the review. Which, again, I feel is his way to try and cover himself by trying to be nice to the film here, even though he wasn't for the entire video.
There is personality to some of the characters.
It would have been nice if you actually did go over their personalities, but all I saw was you just making fun of the characters and not saying anything you liked about them at all. The only character you gave attention to was Brother Gilbert, and that was only just to shit all over his character.
But nothing about it feels as grand or epic as I think it wants to be. A lot of that, I think, is because it was in production hell for so long and a clear vision of the film just couldn't be figured out. Especially seeing how many scenes just feel so chopped down or unfinished.
Well, why didn't you go into detail like I did to explain to the viewer why it was like this, and going into the story about how this film had two scripts combined to make this story? Let's hear what Doug and Rob had to say after finishing the film.
I think, too, I'm just realizing with that castle and that army and that prince who becomes the king and stuff like that, they just don't look like that, literally that big a threat. It doesn't look like there's a big army. If you read the backstory behind the making of this movie, it's like a mess. The guy's original vision was completely different. Then he got kind of booted off, and then Rob Cohen was brought in, and he changed a bunch of things, and there was just so much stuff going on.
I get what they mean about it not being on an epic scale, but this was way before something like Lord of the Rings. They were not in a position with technology to where they could have created their own army through a computer. In this film, if you look at this footage, all these extras are, I imagine, not an army size, but the fact that this film had this many for both the villagers and Einan's men, I find to be really impressive having this many involved in the film. And then it's funny, Rob talks about there was so much going on, but then they decided not to include any of that in their review, just to help support any of their points. You know, kind of like what I just did for this entire video.
Somewhere there's a decent film longing to get out, but in the end, the film almost fittingly comes across as half-hearted. I'm a nostalgia critic, I remember, so you don't have to.
Well, for me, I thought it was a decent film, to be honest. What did you guys think? I would love to hear your feedback on this film. Also, why did you walk away while saying your catchphrase? You should have said it and then walked away. That was a bit awkward, but whatever. We have finally reached the end. In conclusion, I would very much not recommend this video and other videos that are structured like this. I also just want to make it clear. Unlike Synthetic Man, I don't see Doug as a bad person. I mean, at the end of his reviews, he does shout outs for charities, and I'm glad he shows support for those organizations. It's just, this was an awful video that I couldn't help but get mad at some of the things he said in this. To make this clear, I don't hate Doug Walker, I just don't like the way he went about making this video. Like being dishonest about the film and having an only negative viewpoint throughout this video instead of both equally stating good and bad things about it. Especially him crapping on this film's CGI a bit too hard for my taste, not knowing the work that went into it. He didn't pay very good attention to the film, which affected his video heavily, and overall just felt like he was getting his daily clicks in instead of actually trying to understand this film at all and make a proper review that goes into detail about certain things in the film. Just like everyone else, when I first saw the Nostalgia Critic, I enjoyed his stuff back then. But as I got older and my brain started to develop to where I enjoy watching movies, TV shows, and playing video games, but now I also like to analyze that stuff to see something I really liked as a detail I never noticed, or if I noticed something I thought was dumb and have discussions about it, which I really enjoy doing. As a person, I have grown and changed how I view and do things, while it feels like Doug has not grown up at all, which is a shame. If he could only adjust the way he reviews by being more fair to what he is reviewing with proper criticism and provide more details about a film, then I feel his videos would be received better. But if he doesn't change, he is at least a good example of how not to review a film. Well, that's it. I hope you all enjoyed the video. This has been CB Ultra 768 with Reviewing Reviewers. I review their videos so you don't have to. Oh, geez, he's rubbing off on me. Anyway, see you for the next one. Bye-bye.
Oh, Jesus! Oh, God! Oh, Jesus, God! Oh, Mary, Mother of Jesus, Jesus of Nazareth!